I really didn't want to make a video on this, but the show managed to get a lot worse after a few episodes, and I thought they were at least half decent. I'm the AnimeWolfgamer, and today I'm going to say what I think about the new Powerpuff Girls show, and spoilers, I don't think it's really good. In fact, it's pretty much close to Teen Titans Go level of bad, and what do I mean by that? Well, first, let me get you in on what happened recently. You see, a lot of fans from the old show have started to go on a riot ever since CNN announced there's gonna be a reboot coming in. Just by that image alone, it caused so many to lose their shit and make the fans go crazy. They didn't even got all the original people who worked on it. Hell, not even the voice actors even came back to do these roles again. So yeah, not many people weren't excited about it, but like every sane person, we have to wait until it comes out before we judge it. Now that we have, most of us are pretty much agreeing that it's not as good as the original. In fact, most of us just wonder whatever happened to the productions of the show, as there's a lot of obvious fails that happen throughout the series. Let's start with the obvious one, and that is the animation. Just by one look, you could tell something is wrong here. The animation is so low budget that it kind of rivals Johnny Test in that regard. There are so many animation errors that you could easily make a drinking game out of it. But I wouldn't recommend it because you're probably gonna die of alcohol poisoning after the 20th error. They're using the same exact style of animation of the original show, only they have updated everything to fit within the modern age. Here's the problem. The style doesn't work anymore, and even then, it only looks as good because back then, technology is very limited. It's not to say the original show had some errors because it does have a fair share of it. Seriously, Miss Bellum looks like a fucking giraffe in this scene. But it happens far less because of quality control. Another problem is how the art style goes against what the show is doing. I said this before that updating a style like this wouldn't work, but when you do completely new things to this style, the results will be disastrous. All these errors are left in without any touch-ups, and you want to know how that came to be? The storyboards. Now, within almost every cartoon that wants to focus on quality, you have to lay out on the scenes and plan ahead. However, this show doesn't do that. Well, sorta, as it turns out that the storyboard guys have talent. It's the fucking animation that prevents them from being any great. In this one example that I have, we see the bull actually having character in his movement and expressions. But when they animate him, they removed all of that. I think the issue comes when the style of animation being that it's an update, it didn't allow him to mash them up. This happens throughout the series as every character in the show, including the girls, never got any expressive traits to make them stand out with the exception of memes. Yes, they fucking did this and it's the wrong meme to do it. This is a primary example of animators going against the storyboards. Not to say I would like a meme to be on the show, but at least give it the correct one. When the two characters cannot see what to draw or know what the characters are feeling, this is the results. But that is not the worst that could offer because we just gone through the surface of this shit pile. And nothing is more apparent than the voice acting. The voice acting for the show is pretty hit or miss, but mostly it's a huge miss. Now, I'm not gonna say that I'm mad that they didn't got the original trio back despite having most of the original side characters' voices back, even though that Tara Strong and the others did not do a good job presenting their case about this. Seriously, they acted like a bunch of assholes. But anyway, now my opinion on the new cast has been pretty okay, but Natalie, who voices Buttercup, is really annoying only because it has a hard time deciding on whether to be a tough girl voice or a soft tomboy voice. This is so noticeable throughout the show's lifespan, but that is just the surface of it as almost all the voice acting here has a lot of stutters and lacks of emotion. I swear, most of these lines do not sound nearly as invested as the only ones that does are the girls, and they seem to be trying their hardest. I think that might have something to do with the animation not letting any expressions come through. Voice actors need visual cues and a good director to avoid stale lines like this. But this also leads to another problem, and it's a major one compared to the next point I'll make, and that is the story and plot lines of this show. Oh man, the story and plot lines of this show. Okay, now when I first saw the 2 episodes, I thought it wasn't bad. In fact, I thought it was okay, but it does have some problems. But however, these problems soon became worse and worse when it keeps on going. I will say that I'm glad it didn't become so action heavy because that would have also not worked for the girls. Instead, they decided to lessen the action and focus more on the slice of life and comedy elements only. Now, I would have been all go for it if it wasn't for the fact that the comedy wasn't funny and the plot lines are just as stale and cliche as you can get without any variations on them. First off, they are using so many memes in the show. I'm not joking that this is their most relied source of comedy. The meme generator, the meme faces, twerking. Wake me up! Wake me up inside! Wake up! Wake me up inside! And the lowest of comedy that you can think of. There's no clever wit to it, and I wouldn't mind it if the comedy is above average for the show, and I would welcome it. This is the main drive of the show, and yet they continue to fail at it with every episode passing by. I honestly am wanting the action to take over, as it would have been much better, but we only get some so little by little, and there isn't a balance anymore. But when we do get action, the girls are a lot weaker than the original. I mean, Bubbles break a bone so easily, and I was like very confused on that. The characters that are so well loved are no longer able to hold most of these plots and became the biggest problem, as the characters don't work in these types of situations. The show seems to be taking the girly parts only without bringing in any of the good parts or any of the subversion in the first place. Every episode seems to play on these tropes, but then lets these tropes take over the episode without giving any new looks to them. It's feminism, only they focus on the very terrible parts of it. I may agree that modern feminism is not great compared to the past, but I would like to say that if they're gonna use it, they should not use it as the main focus of the morals, despite the fact that they keep on failing. I don't count morals to be the end-all of the show, but man, are they really terrible at it. One of the best examples is the unicorn episode. This episode is about a transgender trying to deal with what he is, despite the fact that he thinks he's someone else. The moral is botched up a lot here, and not to mention that it ended up making it more transphobic. In fact, this show has a lot of guys in dresses jokes, and every time they fail at making them funny, which again makes them transphobic. Look, I don't have a problem with cartoons making fun of this, as humor is subjective and you have every right to mock anything, but these jokes don't have anything to stand on, and it's been done like a million times. Now I know people will be saying I'm taking this too deeply. Well, this brings up my next point, and that is the creators' words on what they have said in the interviews. What you are seeing is the words from the creators' mouths. They said it outright that this episode is about transgenders. Since this came out, everybody got angry about it. I'm not kidding that both the social justice warriors and the anti-social justice warriors went nuts and told the creators they failed on doing that. I may only know a few things about transgenders, but even I could say that this didn't do a good job at it. The creators are giving too much focus on giving these kind of messages that they didn't even focus on telling a good story before doing so. Say what you want about Brotherhood Social, that episode gives a much better representation, and even then it wasn't even about transgenders. The writing in the show never improved, and I feel like that the writers have never had any faith in it because they're gonna earn all their money back with toys. But I think what makes the final nail in this coffin is dropping Miss Bellum in the reboot. Okay, now I'm going to sum up why this is a terrible choice. You see, Miss Bellum is honestly the best representation of a beautiful and smart woman on the show. This part of the article not only insults those kind of people, but it shows that these people do not know what makes the original any good. Look, I know that Bellum is not safe from Rule 34 and how most see her as just eye candy, but she is not just that. She is a strong woman who knows how to run the town and able to give the best advice to the girls. In fact, she is the mother that the girls never had. So you can imagine the amount of anger I have when they remove her because she is offensive to female viewers. Before you ask, yes, I have seen the episode on how they address why she is not there. Honestly, it's okay, but it still kind of shows an obvious problem. Now, let me say something very important to close this off. You see, women always has this problem when portrayed in media. I get the issue since I saw how badly it can get. But when a woman is not allowed to be sexy, smart, or feminine all at the same time, you are giving a mixed message to girls. I'm very tired of people saying that you have to sacrifice one for the other, and this is a prime example of it. So I hope you guys understand why I didn't like the reboot. Now, if you like it, that is fine. You managed to enjoy something that I don't. Also, don't worry guys, as this is the only time I will talk about this because like Teen Titans Go, I will ignore it and not give it a single view. But if there's one thing I worried about, it might make an episode to address the criticism it's getting from old fans. It's gonna happen knowing how the creators inserted themselves instead of cartooning themselves like that one episode. But I'm not gonna respond to it as I'm done and it's back to watching cartoons that deserves my views. This is the AnimeWolfgamer and I hope the next day will be even better. See ya!